Thou that sleepest, arise from the dead.
Read the Bible, you'll find out that God's not too happy with what's going on around us.
Redeem the time, because the days are evil.
The Bible has not changed.
Boldly proclaim the restoration and preservation of Christian values in America.
Satan has brainwashed a whole nation.
As goes the church, so goes the nation.
Nobody's convicted of anything anymore.
And now, here's Last Call with your host, B.J. Edwards.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Anderson. How you doing this morning, Mr. Anderson? Busy, trying to put the technical stuff together. I see that.
Technical stuff, home stuff, Christmas stuff, all that stuff. End of the year.
Isn't it funny how the word obvious and oblivious are so close together, but yet the opposite of each other? January reset today with Ohio Brett. You're going to love him, Mr. Energy. I'm the guy.
My goodness, yeah.
I'm the guy that says behind every rainbow there's a cloud, and Ohio Brett, on the other hand, is behind every cloud there's a rainbow. So he's something else.
Yeah, he is. A lot of energy.
And Medicare madness begins. Former Vice President Joe Biden. And by the way, I saw this on Tucker was interviewing somebody last night, and the gentleman said, well, former vice president, he never called him president. He said former Vice President Joe Biden. And I think I like that. I like that. And before you get crazy here, you're about to listen to 2 hours of opinion and entertainment supplied by Last Call Radio. We are not doctors. We're not lawyers, politicians, professional journalists, nor do either of us hold a doctorate degree in anything. Not that that would make any difference in today's day and age. Our opinion, of course. We only ask that you personally and or corporately not take our statements or those that we voice from others personal, nor do we recommend that you act on them as if they are facts, although they might very well be. But again, that's our opinion. You're not required to listen to, act on, or repeat anything that you hear today, nor assume that there are facts and that any information we present is by no means meant to harm or threaten anyone. Got to get that disclaimer out there.
We're claiming nothing, right?
Yep.
But saying everything.
I mentioned obvious. Maybe I can bring this up here. Can you see that there? Yeah, good. If you see obvious, OBVIOUS, and you add a lie to it, we'll just take the E out to be efficient here, okay? We'll add a lie to it, and you get oblivious, which reminds me of the grocery store. I was in line yesterday. We're always looking for recruits. We're looking for people that will help us out. And I talked to the lady behind me, and neither one of them had a mask on. And I live in a very liberal area, so when you find somebody that doesn't have a mask on, it's like geez. It's like you found gold. And I said to him, it's really nice to see a face. And she just kind of laughed at me, and her husband did as well. And I said, things are really getting bad in America today. And she said, yeah, I know. And I said, our government runs schools, our city council. She said, I was a teacher. I got sick of it and I retired early. I said, yeah, but the problem is everybody's barking, but nobody's doing anything. Again, I'm looking for a recruit, looking for somebody to help us. And she said, yeah, I agree with you. I said, I'm with a couple organizations, and we're having an impact on the public schools, the government in general, local city councils. And if you'd like to help us out, we'd love to have you. And she said to me real quickly, her husband standing behind her, didn't say a word. Come on, men. She said to me, well, I'm one of those chickens. Huh? Are you one of those chickens?
One of those chickens.
Yep.
It's, want to move in under a rock somewhere.
Yep.
I did tell you about my new project, right?
No, you didn't.
I'm working on a new development in my county, so that I can put up a housing development where we can start marketing our rocks more efficiently. And my development's going to be called Denial, Ohio.
Denial, Ohio. I love it. I absolutely love it.
So, it'll probably look a little bit like bedrock.
Yep.
So there you go. Denial, Ohio. Future housing for those chickens.
Obvious, folks. Let me tell you something. Let me let you in on a little secret. You're not going to be able to hide from this under any kind of a rock. With all due respect to our new project, it just isn't going to work. It's going to come get you. No, it's going to come get your family. It's going to come get your neighborhood. It's going to come get your friends. It's going to get your grandchildren. Can you imagine? Look what we're doing right now. In 1 year, look what this accelerant, former Vice President Joe Biden, look what the former Vice President has done to this nation, along with his friends. I mean, this is insane. I'm going to get into what he's trying to do to Medicare, and this is, the retirees are thinking they'll never touch Social Security. Medicare never. Well, guess what? It's already starting. And I'm going to give you an example this morning of what's going on with our former VP. Look, it's just too hard to resist and too big to ignore. It's just crazy. And please stay tuned. Second hour, we're going to have Brett Bull. I mean, the guy is incredible. Saturday morning, do radio at its finest. Look, we're here to encourage you to do, folks. We don't want to necessarily entertain you, although that'd be a nice add-on, but we want you to do something.
Well, I hope we're somewhat entertaining.
We want you to hear. We want to hear from you. 614-423-4220. We want to hear from you. Tell us what you've been doing this week, how you've been doing it. We're the group, and Sunday night we're having our conference call. And if you want to join us, it's 302-202-1110 and then 745-353. That's the code. You don't need to pound anything. 302-202-1110, Sunday evening, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. We're trying to find a way to activate. When you talk to somebody, like I talked to the lady the other day, I normally don't follow through. Now we have a way to follow through, and we're working on that, where we can send them information. All they need to give us is their cell phone number, and then we'll send them the information they need, and then we'll let them know what area they're in, what's going on in the area, where they can help out, find out where they're coming from. We talk to too many people, and we get the heads nods, but we don't do anything. We don't try to bring them into the picture. And we really need to start doing that. And I think we're finding great ways to do it. So anyway, Sunday evenings, if you want to help out, in the counsel of many, there's much wisdom, folks. Much wisdom. If you went into the show today, I set out the StreamYard on Gab and another social media site. So you're welcome to join us. Just mute yourself until you come in.
Well, we have Tom Haviland here.
Yeah.
And you saw him. And he says the biggest lie of the year is you have to be vaccinated so my vaccine will work.
That is crazy. I mean, just the insanity. Just the insanity of all this. I'm not going to get into great detail of this, and I mentioned it before. Maybe I'll do a show on this, but I can remember growing up in the 50s and 60s. Yeah, I grew up in the 50s and 60s, and I can remember
growing up.
How stupid, yeah, me too. How stupid I thought people were in Russia. And you would hear all this, you knew what was going on, but when Pravda, the media, reported it, they never reported the truth. It's kind of like when I went to school board meetings and I attend the meeting and then I look for the news media and that isn't the same meeting I attended. Well, that's what was happening in Russia. Pravda, he who controls the information controls the world, right? Pravda was sending this out and sending misinformation out. But if that's the only information you're going to get, then that's the decisions you're going to make based upon the information you get, right? So if you only get one side of it, COVID, yeah, loose talk can cause lives. You're right. You're right. So that's what Prava was in Russia and in Nazi Germany. They had a doctor who was spouting misinformation. As in my humble opinion, we have a doctor that's spouting misinformation, at least one side of it. And to see the people now that are wearing masks just amazes me. And again, I live in a liberal area, so I'm going to see a lot of that. College town, if you will. But very liberal. Probably voted for that Vice President, Joe Biden. But when you see these people in the store and they have and when they have their mask on their children, come on, there's psychological damage being done there. God gave us a face. He didn't give us a face to hide it. You put a mask on when you want to rob somebody. Well, I guess that's what you see from our politicians. Most of them have masks on, don't they? And they are robbing the taxpayers. Nazi Germany. One-sided conversations. People were reporting on their neighbors, turning them in out of fear.
Not only their neighbors, but their own children were being programmed to report their parents.
And that's what's happening in our government-run schools. I mean, there's the story about the lady in California this week whose son got a vaccination and whose teacher told his son, don't tell your parents. Don't tell your parents. Really? And this is coming from all sides, folks. And we have to stand up and oppose that. We can't be that individual in the line with me that says, well, I'm chicken. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. You can't hide from this.
Why would a person feel that way in this great land of ours, where we have liberty and justice for all?
In the American way.
What are we chicken of?
MM United. Okay, that's fine. We knew we were having trouble. I guess we're having trouble with the MM United site. We're going to have to work on that after the show today. We just found out when we came into the show. So this is just a propaganda, and it can be over CRT. It could be over CRT. I think when we come back, we'll play a quick clip. Kroger here in Ohio in the Midwest. They're adding a $50. First of all, they're no longer providing sick pay leave for unvaccinated salary workers. Kroger. And Kroger leads the way. Kroger, I can remember Kroger when they tried to do this monetary thing to us, when they tried to take coin out of the realm.
Yeah, no change.
Kroger was the one that was heading that up. And good folks like myself, pat myself on the back, don't want to hurt my shoulder. I've been patting myself on the back so much my shoulders are sore. You know what I mean? It's just terrible. It's terrible. But
get a thing with a rope on.
Yeah, and
pull a hand.
They wanted to give you a receipt, and we'll give you credit on it. I said, no way. I want change. I see you have change in that drawer. Give me change. And they did. And other folks that I know were doing the same thing. Well, guess what? After less than a week, I think Kroger just downed it. And we have to do the same thing. Kroger's an opportunity here, folks. Kroger is an opportunity. Even if you're chicken, quack, 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 even if you're chicken, you can still call Kroger or you can stop shopping there. They no longer provide paid sick leave for unvaccinated workers. And they're adding a $50 monthly surcharge to company healthcare plans for unvaccinated managers. I called Kroger headquarters in Cincinnati this week. And I really expect you to do the same. Otherwise, don't listen to this show. All right. You're not helping out. You're part of the problem. $50 monthly surcharge. Cincinnati-based grocery chain, one of the largest employers in the United States, and almost 500,000 full-time, part-time workers. This is going to happen in January if we remain silent. But we can stop it now. When we come back from break, I'm going to talk about former Vice President Joe Biden and how he's affecting our Medicare. This is expected, but still absolutely unbelievable.
Former Vice President?
Mm-hmm.
Good one.
under Obama.
Yeah. Oh, I knew that. It
I
was,
had
it was a good one.
I had a double.
It
That
was a
one.
good one. That's a good one.
Former vice.
Last call with BJ Edwards. Real talk about real life.
Seeing a lot of oblivious, brainwashed Americans. You know how you can tell them, can't you? I mean, that's right. They're the ones with the mask on that look at you funny. That look at you funny. I mentioned CRT. If you can get that video up, Mr. Anderson. I was in human resources for almost 30 years. And man, what it's turned into. You got that video?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I'd slap you around and wake you up.
Yeah, I'm a little.
Think about the last time you went through a recruiting process for a new job opportunity. Did you walk away feeling excited? Feeling like this new role will help you advance your career? Or help you gain new experiences and skills you've been seeking to develop? Your unique blend of characteristics, identities, and experiences may impact how you answer those questions. Many hiring managers like yourself have been tasked with increasing the diversity of their companies, yet many haven't quite cracked the code on what it takes to be successful in doing so. Hi, I'm Christy Lindor, and I'm a culture and diversity workforce consultant and CEO of Tessie Consultant. I've spent years partnering with high-performing companies to advocate for women, immigrants, and underrepresented groups in the workplace. Now, before we get started, aligning ourselves on the use of language is an important grounding in this work. Throughout the course, I use language like diverse candidates and underrepresented candidates or broader representation interchangeably. The course also explores what diversity and diversity hiring mean. So why is all this important? True diversity hiring means creating a recruiting process and bias-free decision-making in a work culture such that underrepresented candidates will organically show up in your pipeline and ultimately as talent who will succeed, advance, and thrive in your organization. In this course, I'll walk you through step-by-step process to help you achieve better diversity results in your recruiting efforts. We also provide audio chats in the exercise files. Take a listen to follow the journey of two different hiring managers going through their own diversity recruiting efforts. There will be moments during this course where you might feel uncomfortable because it challenges your thinking or it may surface unknown or unrecognized biases. There will also be moments where you might feel overwhelmed realizing just how much work and effort it will take to create a space of authentic diversity recruiting. But that's okay because you've got this. I want you to lean into that discomfort because from that place, you'll create awareness, you'll look at situations differently, and you'll open your diversity recruiting efforts to a whole new world of possibilities. So when you're ready, grab a pen and paper, take a couple of deep breaths, and let's get to work.
Children sound so smooth, so articulate, and so reasonable. Again,
Yeah, that sounded so sweet.
Yep.
And underrepresented to me means underqualified.
Well, see, that's your bias.
That's my
your
bias.
Showing. Yep.
No, that's my education.
Yep. Expounding on diverse candidates, underrepresented candidates, broader representation. Really? Bias-free decision-making? When we're looking specific for someone who fits a certain mold other than workplace requirements, we're looking for somebody that fits a certain mold as versus workplace requirements? And don't be surprised if you discover unknown and unrecognized biases that you have. Like eating pork, right? What the presenter is talking about is the same thing as paranoia, folks. They're trying to develop paranoia in both your human resources representative and the candidate. Can you imagine being hired as a candidate knowing that you weren't hired on your qualifications necessarily, but because of your skin color?
Your social status, yeah.
Another group in California wants to have just one day for a park for blacks. We used to call that segregation, folks.
We did.
This is insanity.
We did.
Don't be surprised if you discover unknown or unrecognized biases. Perception is reality, ladies and gentlemen. And if you're looking for it, you're going to find it. If you're looking for something bad to happen, I can guarantee you that's going to happen. As vice versa, if you're looking for something good to happen, our good friend Coach Dave Dobbenmeyer says we're winning. He's into the game thinking he can win the doggone thing. Imagine that. Well, others out there, again, the lady in the line, are accepting the loss already without even trying, without even getting into the game, without even calling a play. Bang, we lose. With that kind of an attitude, we lose. If you're in the sports arena and you're showing up against a team and you're on Ohio State or you're on Alabama or even Cincinnati these days, and you think you can win, you know you can win, you just keep trying. You find a way, don't you? You're either going to find a way to win or find a way to lose. This is up to us, the U.S. and USA, to turn this around, and we can do it. Start off a project, human resources, with certain knowns that cannot be based on bias or subjective elements. You have to look at this objectively. That resume that you look at, that you call that individual to interview for, that resume is objective. Or darn well ought to be. As an executive recruiter with over 2 decades of experience, it saddens me to see where the HR vocation is headed in our new woke and diverse society. When we look for unknown, unrecognized biases, are we not introducing paranoia into the process, both on the part of the employer and the employee? Folks, again, perception is reality. Racism ends when we stop speaking the stinking thing into existence, and not until then. So stop it. Both parties, stop it. Ugh. Diversity training notwithstanding, by the way. God bless those who recognize that America is still the land of opportunity for all. Former Vice President Joe Biden has convinced the executive branch through bonuses to doctors who implement anti-racism plans in their Medicare plans. These are new Medicare rules, by the way. And they're also rewarding trauma-informed care. The executive branch is offering bonuses to doctors who create and implement an anti-racism plan under new rules from the Department of Health and Human Resources. Washington Free Beacon, Aaron S. Barium article. Meant to update Medicare payments to reflect changes in Medicare medical practices. You understand what's happening here, right? They're prejudicing Medicare. I'm going to call my doctor's office and ask them, number one, if they're familiar with this, and number two, what does that mean to the average person that walks in the door? Are you going to treat somebody with a different skin color differently because you get more money for it? Are you going to treat somebody differently with COVID? Not because of what you know, but because of what the government dictates that you do. The government, folks, is practicing medicine without a license. You do know that, right? They're practicing medicine without a license. And yes, the good governor of the state of Ohio is going to call in the National Guard because of all the medical workers that are just so overworked. Not because they've lost their job because they won't get the jab. The hundreds or thousands that have done so. No. We're going to send in unqualified National Guardsmen to help out. You know, I can't tell you how much I believed in the Medicare, in the medical system. Even given a history of bad experiences with them, I kept believing, well, yeah, this will work out. This will work out. Now I'm really concerned because I see politics. When I go to get a physical from my doctor, the doctor tells me, well, because you're on Medicare, your physical is going to be, I'm going to take your pulse, hold your hand, pat you on the fanny, and send you out the door. Anything else that I do, the government won't pay for. Really? I've been to specialists for decades. Haven't done a thing for me. Haven't done a thing for me. I went to my doctor and I said to him, all right, if I get COVID, what is your protocol? He says, what do you mean? I said, will you prescribe ivermectin for me? Or hydrochloroquine? Nope. Remdesivir? Oh, yeah. Put me on a machine to help me breathe? You betcha. You're too far gone by that time, folks. And there's, as I understand it, my opinion, as I understand it from what I read, there's a lot of kidney failures with remdesivir. Strange. I was listening to a report this morning when they were talking about the vaccination. And then during the first 3 months, I think 1,200 people died. Now, I don't know whether that's nationwide. And if so, or if that is worldwide. But 1,200 people is 1,200 people.
Did you say when death is near?
Yes. 12,000 people. I'm sorry. I think it was 12,000. Doesn't make any difference. 1,000, 12,000. That's still way too many. So now I'm shopping. I'm shopping for medical help. Not advice, help. They've already been advised. And now this new Medicare thing coming down the road. And you know what? This is not going to hurt me as much as it is somebody with a darker skin color. Yeah. Again, if you're a doctor, you're going to be afraid to treat them, aren't you? And you can't ask certain questions based on their skin color, right? That's right. So they're going to be dealing on less information than they normally would. B.J. Edwards along with Mr. Anderson. This is your last call. When we come back, I'm going to finish the former vice president and what he's trying to do to Medicare, what he's done to Medicare, what he's doing to Medicare. God help us all.
Last call with B.J. Edwards. Real talk about real life.
If I get a chance, I want to get to the headlines because they're very telling. Medicare doctors can boost their reimbursement rates by conducting a clinic-wide review of their practice's commitment to anti-racism, covering value statements and clinical practice guidelines, pushing an agenda that defines race as a political and social construct, not a psychological one. Remember what they did with homosexuality? Yeah, they changed the construct of it. Remember what doctors used to say about it, psychologists used to say about it, and now what they say about it? And then it became a physical, political, social construct. That's what they're doing with Medicare. The quality of your health care, folks, regardless of your skin color, in my humble opinion, ain't going to improve. And the cost is going to go up. By the way, the cost of Medicare has just gone up. But they would have rectified that with that $5 trillion package, right? From former Vice President Biden. Wouldn't that have done it? Sure it would have. Yeah, hours after his inauguration, Vice President Joe Biden, that's what he calls himself, right? He calls Kamala the president, signed an executive order launching a whole of government equity agenda. One plank of which was to equitable delivery of government benefits, with the new doctor bonus scheme being consistent with that order. It follows a series of steps by Biden administration to integrate anti-racism into government policy. Again, I'm reading from an article from Aaron S. Barham from Washington Free Beacon, 12/6/2021. In November, for example, the Department of Homeland Security listed the Department of Homeland Security listed diversity, equity, and inclusion, as one of their top 2 priorities ahead of cybersecurity, which the Russian and the Chinese are eating our lunch over, folks. But we're taking care of gays in the military, right? And we're going to now take care of Medicare for those folks that previously supposedly weren't getting good treatment. And in both cases, my humble opinion, the quality is going to go downhill rapidly. What's wrong with impeaching? Why haven't we heard anything about that? Well, because we don't have a Republican House. So once we get a Republican House, they'll do that, right? Nah. It's because the Senate, we got the Republican House, we want to impeach, but the Senate won't go along with it. Right? Wow. The new rules update Medicare's merit-based incentive payment program, a scoring rubric that determines eligible doctors' reimbursement rates. Congress set up that system in 2015. That was bipartisan, by the way, to reward clinicians for high-quality, cost-effective Medicare. Remember, my doctor would give me, check my heart, check my mouth, pat me on the fanny, and send me out the door. Can't do anything more than that. Apparently, doctors have been billing Medicare for services regardless of how necessary they were. Doesn't the doctor get to decide that, folks? Not the government? Oh, no. We're better off with Big Brother. The government doing that. The 215 goal was controlling costs with the idea that this would be used as a tool, not an idea that this would be used as a tool as racial policy never came up. But the scoring system did reward improvement activities that advance health equity, creating a mechanism for the HHS to inject ideology into medical compensation. The new rules add anti-racism plans to the list of such activities, which are broken up into medium and high-weighted categories. Anti-racism plans to fall within the second weighting, high-weighted, giving doctors extra incentive money bonuses for implementing them. By the way, Medicare is one of the most expensive social programs in the United States. It has been growing more so over time. In 2020 alone, it cost nearly $1 trillion. Efforts to lower the price tag, the aforementioned 2015 payment reform for one, have produced administrative headaches and bureaucratic bloat. The Medicare Payment Advisory Commission, an independent federal agency that advises Congress on Medicare policy, has called for a merit-based payment program to be repealed. They see the problem, arguing its complicated rules have little relation to medical outcomes and saddle doctors with unnecessary paperwork and concerns. Can I do this? Let me leaf through the I don't have time to leaf through this. I won't do it for you because I don't know whether Medicare will pay for it. You better be thinking out there. Oblivious. The new improvements acted should exaggerate the regulatory burden, especially on small clinics. There we go again. According to HHS, one public comment on the rules stated that anti-racism plans would be easier for larger, more established practices and smaller or solo practices to adopt. Of course, the agency disagreed. Clinics can boost their reimbursement by implementing a trauma-informed care approach to clinical practice, which seeks to avoid re-traumatizing or triggering past trauma. That includes multi-generational trauma. You know what we're talking about here, right? Whereby experiences that traumatized earlier generations, such as the genocide of Native American tribes, are passed down to subsequent generations. Folks, point blank, the executive branch, the Congress, the Senate, Congress, the judicial system, your local city council, your local school boards are playing doctor. And they're playing doctor with your health, your lives, your children's lives, and you can't afford to be chicken. There's no way you can afford to be chicken. It's going to come get you. In this case, it's going to be a home game, which you don't want to get involved with. My humble opinion. But we really do need to stand up. I fear that some folks are going to get physical, probably rather soon. And we don't want to see that happening. Two wrongs don't make a right. Retirees, your Medicare doctor has more on his mind than your health. And like I said before, don't believe me? Ask them to write a prescription for ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, or monoclonal antibodies. And then step back and observe. Love to hear your suggestions here. I'm going to contact my doctor, my doctor's clinic, current, and say, I just heard this. What are you guys doing? Don't know. I have to check with management. Good. Have management give me a call back. Again, this is from the Washington Free Beacon, an article by Aaron S. Barium, Barium, 12/16/2021. Look it up. See what happens. Folks, people are being hurt. And they're being hurt because we aren't participating. We aren't doing our due diligence here. What do you think, Mr. Anderson?
There you go, asking for my opinion.
Yes, sir.
They're all robbers. And we're blindly following somebody else so we don't have to be blamed. What I'm saying is, like, whatever mandates come down, whatever ideas come forth from the higher up, so to speak, well, it's my job, right? Isn't that the answer we get? It's my job, just doing my job.
Yeah. Or it's not my job.
Well, you're right. It's not my job. My job is to do the best I can if I'm a doctor for my patient on an individual basis and prescribe and subscribe whatever it is that is necessary for their needs. It started with insurance companies, kind of, sort of, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Big business again. Are you an anti-capitalist, Mr. Anderson?
I am anti-communist capitalist.
Yeah, true. Look. It's the problem here is that in America we don't know the difference between right and wrong. It used to be obvious. Now we're oblivious to it. We don't know the difference between right and wrong. There are so many like fact checkers out there that whenever you bring up a question, they take it and they smother it. Let me give you a good example. COVID-19 has a 99% survival rate. So what's the big deal, right? The response? No, note this response. It is known to cause hospitalization or death. Yeah. As does the flu, as does smoking too many cigarettes, as it does drinking too much. The list goes on. I understand there's an outbreak of, what's that chest thing? Tuberculosis in New York now.
Oh, really?
Yep. Wonder where that's coming from across the border. It's known to cause hospitalizations or death. Aliens, by the way. You have to look up that word alien. It can cause severe, number two, it can cause severe symptoms that warrant emergency medical attention, such as difficult breathing, chest pressure or pain, confusion, or extreme fatigue. Again, here's the point. COVID has a 99% survival rate, so it isn't a big deal. So how do they answer this? It's known to cause hospitalization and deaths. It's serious. Individuals with certain medical conditions who become infected are at a risk of becoming seriously ill. Well, duh. As with the flu. The Delta is likely to cause more serious symptoms than previous strains. A lot of folks talking about Omicron and how that's a good thing.
A good thing?
Mm-hmm. Because its symptoms are very mild, comparatively speaking, to the flu, to COVID-19, Delta version especially. And once you get it and you get over it, you have what?
Immunity.
Natural immunity.
Yeah.
It could be nature's flu shot. What do you think? Okay. Masks don't work. Again, this is what you're hearing out there. And then the response, according to the FDA and the CDC, remember my experience with the CDC? They estimate, project, sample. Masks are proven to prevent the spread of the virus. There are several studies that prove this to be true. There's several studies that prove it to be not true, but they don't mention that. Additionally, the CDC recommends masking as a means of preventing the spread of the disease. They don't say how many masks, do they? Doesn't really make any difference. Unless you're in that bubble suit, folks. Vaccines cause infertility. According to the CDC, again, the estimators, my humble opinion, there's no evidence that vaccines have any effect on fertility. Well, there you go. The CDC actually recommends that anyone who is pregnant, nursing, or wants to become pregnant should get the vaccine to better protect themselves from COVID-19. From what I've read and others' opinions, this could be dangerous. And then the biggie, ivermectin can help prevent or treat COVID. The FDA has not authorized or approved ivermectin for the treatment of COVID-19 in people or animals for COVID, but it's used in animals all the time and people all the time for other issues. Ivermectin is approved for human use to treat infections caused by some parasitic worms and head lice and skin conditions like rosacea. There's currently no data to support the ivermectin can prevent or treat COVID-19. That's because you haven't tried to prove it. Opinion. Taking ivermectin is an unauthorized way and is dangerous. What are the death rates for ivermectin?
0, right?
Yep. Well, I don't think it's quite 0. I don't think it's quite 0. Nothing's quite 0 when you take a drug. There's always a reaction to it. When we come back, headlines, and then we'll get to our 2-minute warning. B.J. Edwards, along Mr. Anderson. This is your last call. Chickens.
Keeping you informed. This is Last Call with B.J. Edwards.
We are back.
We are.
Babylon Bee time. A national study on defending the police has just concluded, and it has a surprising result. It was an astonishing result, says social scientist Candace Wells. But every time a city defunded police, they were soon followed by a massive, almost exorbitant increase in funding. What? The Defend the Police movement was a popular cause among far left, especially among elite whites who live in gated communities and the exceptionally dumb. Poor communities whom it would most affect tended to be more tepid about the idea, but who would listen to them? The idea was also very popular among other groups. Defending the police is a great idea, said Tommy the Snake Lucas, a career criminal. I wish cities that did it would stick to it, said the criminal. The study showed that something happens soon after cities defund the police that would lead to a complete reversal with an almost desperate increase in police funding. We're not sure exactly what, said Wells, but there seems to be a high correlation between funding the police and low crime. The result can be seen in San Francisco, where, after being lax on petty crime, Mayor London Breed has decided to increase police funding. Take this, buy bullets, said Breed, tossing stacks of cash at police. If you see any shoplifter or anything, just shoot them. Save us. Babylon Bee. Ridiculous sometimes. Gets you to thinking. Clear the air of that oblivious world that you're in. Headlines, again, very telling. Always very telling. Stay tuned, folks. Second hour, Brett Bowl. Oh, man. What an inspiration, folks. Have professional athletes become the canary in the COVID coal mine? There seems to be a sudden spike of on-field emergencies, which has raised questions among several seasoned veterans of the game. It's going to be interesting to see how this COVID affects sports, or maybe how sports affects COVID is a better way to say it. They postponed the game for Cleveland today. Big time, by the way. There's no games, no college games to speak of on Saturday. This Saturday. So they fill it with pro football, right? Well, guess who isn't playing today? My Cleveland Browns. Monday, they say. We'll see. Alert. Japan places myocarditis warning on vaccines. Requires informed consent. Interesting. They use a lot of ivermectin over there, by the way. Headline, FDA is working with USPS to stop shipments of ivermectin. No, I don't think that's a draconian measure they're taking. But Kroger no longer provide paid sick leave for unvaccinated workers. Again, folks, call them for evil to flourish. Good men need only do what? Nothing. COVID propaganda roundup. These are headlines. American Heart Association's vaccine warning is censored. Interesting. Insanity. Phoenix, this is the headline, Insanity, Phoenix Zoo vaccinates 75 animals for COVID-19 and all of them endangered species. This is supposed to go between animal and man. I hate to say this, but I got to say it because they're going to think of it anyway. Where is the mandates for your dog and your cat and your pet mouse?
Well, there you go, giving them ideas again.
Yeah. It's got to be. It's got to be because they're going to run out of, after they run out of the 300 plus million Americans, they got to go to something else, right?
Well, it's probably been a while since you had a dog, but I am finding it just totally crazy how you have to have a list of your vaccines and vet visits to get your dog groomed. Do you go to a dog groomer? It's you just can't go in and get your dog a haircut anymore. He has to be.
I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah,
I hadn't thought about that, but that's probably right. Wow, so much about life, right?
it's more and more. They're just tightening every little piece of, tightening every screw they can find
around you. Yeah. It's closing in on you.
And these are the guys with the screws loose.
Yep. 1984, folks. 1984. Do you remember that book? George Orwell?
Yeah, oh yeah. Don't forget that.
Controlling every aspect of your life.
There's a little meme from wisdom from Voltaire.
It's dangerous to be right in matters on which the established authorities are wrong. It's dangerous to be right on the matters of which the established authorities are wrong. Voltaire, interesting. Headline: Biden blisters American rejecting vaccine mandate. He responded to reporters asking about the mandate setbacks in court by saying, "This is a pandemic of the unvaccinated, not the vaccinated, the unvaccinated. That's the problem. Everybody talks about freedom, about not to have a shot or have a test. Well, guess what? How about patriotism? How about you make sure you're vaccinated so you do not spread the disease to anyone else? How about that? What's the big deal? By the way, if you're vaccinated, what are you worried about? If you're wearing a mask, what in God's name are you worried about? Seriously. Obvious over oblivious, lie. The difference? L-I. Garland's oath-breaking Nazis. FBI just following orders, crushing American families. Percentage of Americans citing no religion hits an all-time high. Hello. And this is by design, as the pastors sit by and make sure that you're in a defensive posture. Amen. Philadelphia schools allow children to declare any gender without parental consent. Public school enrollment shrinking across the country. Some good news, isn't it?
That's good news. Very good.
Yeah.
Quit calling them public schools.
I keep hearing about parents complaining and Fox News complaining about, we get into this COVID thing again and the kids aren't going to be able to go back to school. Hoorah.
Yeah.
Hoorah. God, I mean, how obvious does God have to make that to you?
We can get some of these hirelings to be babysitters now, right?
Yeah.
There's a recruiter's position.
What about all those children that I mean, that's all they have. That's all they have. What about those children that have been convinced that they're an opposite sex? How about those children that are committing suicide? How about them? How about the children that don't respect their parents?
Those are really good points.
You talking bigger numbers here? You bet your sweet Bippy. Where's the church? Where are the relatives? Where's grandpa and grandma? Where's uncle and aunt? We've become so dependent on the government. My goodness, folks. This is crazy. One more. NPR commenter admits he wants abortion legal so he can stay promiscuous. In his opinion piece, he assures that many women he sleeps with will kill their unborn child. Shame on them. Shame on him. Folks, it's what you make it. It's your attitude toward it. If you think we can win this battle, then we're going to win it. If you think we can't, and or if you're chicken, sorry about your luck. This is about not about you. It's about those around you, those grandchildren, if you're fortunate enough to have them. Most of the children have been talked out of doing that anyway. It's going to grab you somewhere, somehow. Maybe when you go to the hospital, they decide to put you on a ventilator, which aren't being used right now. So we might as well go ahead and just stick you on it. You know what the death rate is after that, by the way. Got a 2-minute warning coming up, folks. B.J. Edwards along Mr. Anderson. Stay tuned. Brett Bull, second hour.
The treaty ending the Spanish-American War was signed this day, December 10th, 1898. Spain renounced all claims to Cuba, Guam, Puerto Rico, and the Philippines. The war, which began when the battleship Maine blew up in Havana Harbor, ended only a few months later as Commodore Dewey destroyed the Spanish fleet in Manila Bay, and Cuba was captured with the help of Teddy Roosevelt. President William McKinley stated, "At a time of unprecedented success, it is fitting that we should bow before the throne of divine grace and give devout praise to God, who holdeth the nations in the hollow of his hands."
This has been.
His name was Nicholas, and he was born to a wealthy elderly couple in what is now Turkey in the 3rd century AD. A teenager when his parents died, he entered the monastery and eventually was ordained bishop of the coastal city of Myra. Known for his generosity to the poor and for many miraculous answers to prayer, he confronted the pagan worship of Diana and was cruelly imprisoned during the persecution of Emperor Diocletian. When Constantine ended the persecution of Christians, he attended the Council of Nicaea and helped write the Nicene Creed. A true saint, Nicholas died this day, December 6, 343 AD.
This has been an American Minute with Bill Federer. For a free transcript, call American Minute at 1-888-USA-WORD.
This is Ron Ross with Powerful Seniors. Seniors realize American history is being ignored and erased. The Bible compels us to do something about it. It says, "Teach what you've seen and heard to your children and grandchildren." Please share this video with your family and friends and encourage others to join Powerful Seniors.
Sometimes you got to sneak it in, Grandma and Grandpa. But don't be hesitant to do so. That's your job. That's your grandchild. Or that's your child. Watch what your government-run schools are teaching. Keep them out of there if you can. How much money would you pay to get them back?
That's why I like running these little clips from Bill Federer, an amazing historian.
They're useful.
And if you go to his website and get that information to share with your children, do so. David Barton, another one, wallbuilders.com, I think is what they are. Anyway.
We got to run second hour. Brett will be with us. He's delayed 15 minutes, but that's good because I want to read you something from Tom Renz. Oh, man, does he ever lay it out? B.J. Edwards along, Mr. Anderson. Your last call.
Keeping you informed. This is Last Call with B.J. Edwards.
And we are back. We're going to talk about January 6th, 2022. with Brett in about 15 minutes. I was on a conference call. Yeah, pick a day. In between
You're
doing,
always on calls.
I'm doing, folks. These are folks that I'm doing with, and we're picking up, we're relaying to each other what happened when we went somewhere and we did something, and how we can improve on that. And that's the kind of conversations you need to be having. You have to have those. You have to communicate. But on one of those calls, the leader of the call's wife popped into the room and said, "Hey, guess what? They let the prisoners out for January 6th. Really?
They did.
That's hard to believe. And then upon further review, that didn't happen.
Oh, no.
Did not happen.
Misinformation.
Yep. You have to be careful out there, folks. You really have to be careful. But they should be released. They should be released.
I had this video, but it didn't upload. But I wanted to mention this at this point where the Garland's oath breaking, how they broke into this, the FBI broke into this family's home and disrupted their entire life. It was a excellent interview. So if you can go to that, I think you can find it at that.
Just Google search it, I guess. Garland's oath-breaking Nazis, FBI just following orders, crushing American family.
Yeah.
This is from redvoicemedia.com, Stu Peters show. I have a lot of folks write me about Stu Peters. And he's almost as good as we are. Almost as good as we are.
The address is right there.
Yep. Anyway, back to Ren's Law. Tom Renz is writing an open letter to whom it may concern. We, the free people and united people of America and the world, are writing in regard to the unlawful and corrupt actions taken by the healthcare industry, bureaucrats, and media regarding COVID-19. The actions taken for nearly 2 years now have stripped people of their rights, decimated the U.S. Constitution, violated the principles of international law, embodied in the Nuremberg Code. We just totally forgot about that, haven't we? And ignored basic and inalienable human rights. The people behind this have leveraged their privileged positions to make billions of dollars at the expense of humanity and are willing to allow this to continue. This is a open letter to whom may concern from Tom Renz. It's renz-law.com. renz-law.com. For decades, Tom goes on, the field of public health has researched the use of fear as a tool to manipulate people into action. Have they not? The use of that tool has now been perfected and implemented against the people of the world with COVID-19. Evidence of the knowledge can be found in the CDC presentations, other DHHS materials, and in numerous academic journals. The intentional use of fear to sow hate, division, and discord is unethical, unacceptable, and must stop immediately. Couldn't have said it better, Brother Renz. The reality is that COVID-19 has a 99% recovery rate in most of the population and approximately 94% recovery rate in the most vulnerable. Compare this to the original SARS, which had approximately 9% case fatality rate, and the original MERS, which had a 30% case fatality rate. We didn't lock down then. No masks. Or even widely acknowledge these diseases when they were prevalent, despite the fact that they had similar rates of spread as COVID-19. The fear has been used as a marketing tool to attempt to justify previously unthinkable actions by bureaucrats and public health figures around the world, the most egregious of which is the forced injection of gene therapy drugs, Tom Renz's opinion, into healthy people. Gene therapy literally alters the genetic makeup of a human being and simply cannot legally, morally, or ethically be forced on anyone. Nuremberg Code, again. Ever. Supposedly. If the decision to alter one's own genetic makeup does not rest with the individual, then there can be no arguments that freedom is lost. There is no good reason for losing your freedoms, folks. Because once the government, especially if the government initiated, once the government takes those liberties, those freedoms away from you, Katie, bar the door. God help you trying to get those back. It almost takes a revolution to do that.
It's like giving the IRS extra money and asking for it back.
Yep. If any of those clips up there, any of these relate to what we're talking about, Mr. Anderson, let me know. The COVID shots are also ineffective. A recent Department of Defense document stated that 71% of new cases of COVID-19 in the Medicare population are fully vaccinated individuals, and 60% of hospitalizations are fully vaccinated. You will not hear that in the news. You hear just the opposite. The majority of the cases are with the unvaccinated. The unvaccinated are filling up the hospitals. Yet Tom must be lying, right? Says that 71% of new COVID-19 cases, they almost have to be. With the amount of population that's being vaccinated, and this is increasing at an exponential rate, how do you explain it? Illegal aliens. Okay, yeah, I guess you could explain it that way too.
Yeah, that second video might right there.
Okay, let's hit this. Where's it at? Second video?
I'll hit it.
No, doesn't sound like it. Let me go here. Let me see if I.
Let me remove it and you put it there.
Okay. See if that'll do
It's
it.
been said that this is the first time ever that the ineffectiveness of a drug is being blamed on the people who haven't taken it. And when you get right down to it, it's about as simple as that. But groupthink has a disturbingly effective way of preventing such simple logic from resonating with the average person, especially when the propaganda is continuously reinforced day after day. First things first, to the people who have taken the first 2 jabs and even the booster shot, please look at things from the perspective of those of us who have chosen to remain vaccine-free. You were told last year that the COVID vaccine would bring back your old life and all of your rights and freedoms. This time last year, no one in Ireland was jabbed. 100% unjabbed population. Well, now in Ireland, the jab rate is claimed to be over 95%. And yet, the situation with COVID is not 95% better. The virus is not under control. However, your life is very much under control. Think about it. And restrictions remain in place. In fact, they've increased in the last few weeks. Future lockdowns have not been ruled out and have in fact been implemented in certain countries despite similar jab uptake. For God's sake, Gibraltar is 100% jabbed and they went back into lockdown recently. Now you're being told you need to receive jabs all the time just to keep your COVID cert in the green so that you can enter a pub, restaurant, travel, or go to work, etc. All predictions I made last year, which I was told at the time, were never going to happen. When I said to people that COVID passes were going to accompany the jabs, I was told I was a paranoid conspiracy theorist and that would never happen. There would be uproar. People would not tolerate it. And yet the very people who said that to me are the very ones who are now making use of the COVID passes. Some of them even told me that they wouldn't take the first 2 jabs, and yet they ultimately caved and took both. Now they're saying they won't be taking the booster, but why should I believe a word out of their mouths? They've proven that they're cowardly, spineless, and lack any kind of self-respect. Their words are not congruent with their actions. When the pressure comes on, they fold. It's like the woman in an abusive relationship who keeps saying that she's definitely not going to take back her abusive ex-boyfriend. But then one day, you see them out together again. And then when you speak to her about it and ask, what the hell happened? Why did you take him back? She says something like, oh, it's different now. He's agreed to change. We worked it all out. The reality is, they've developed a trauma bond to their abuser, just like the Irish public has with their government and the so-called health experts. The cycle of abuse will continue over and over. So while the double jabbed eventually realize their compliance has
trauma bond. Can you say Stockholm syndrome? You know what? Look it up. Stockholm syndrome. Interesting. Very interesting.
now made their bodies forfeit, and they are essentially being made dependent upon indefinite mandatory medication on a regular basis. The rest of us who are unjabbed can only look at their situation as a form of willing slavery. What else could you call it? Why would we essentially want to become drug addicts in need of a pharmacological fix every few months just so we can do basic life stuff, just so we can enjoy our rights and freedoms again? The governments of the world, in league with the globalist cabal that controls them, the cabal that's behind the COVID scam, have essentially convinced the public to accept a big pharma subscription model to access their own immune systems in order to live their lives. But we are not machines, and we should not be treated as if we are computers that have signed up to a kind of antivirus software business model in order to take part in society. But of course, this entire idea of making the population chemically dependent upon mRNA gene therapy technology that alters people at a genomic level certainly looks like a step towards facilitating a transhumanist future where man is merged with machines. How much longer before biosensors and other medical devices are expected to become part of the human body? Initially, such ideas will be denied as crazy, wacky tinfoil hat conspiracy theories, until of course they are then suggested to the public, in which case they will then say, well, of course, it has to be like this. It's for our safety or something. You're not an anti-microchipper person, are you? It should have become obvious to the average person that they were being sold a scam when the vaccine program gradually and deliberately evolved into a regular booster schedule. That should have been another red flag, the constant moving of the goalposts. After all, if Big Pharma had isolated the virus as they claim, why didn't they just produce a regular kind of vaccine, like for MMR or smallpox or polio, the kind that you only take once and then you're done? Forget all the other deeper conspiracies at work, put aside the Great Reset and social credit surveillance state agenda just for a moment. Just focus on who stands to benefit from the entire population of the planet being injected with a medical substance several times per year. Can you not see the incredible profits that pharmaceutical companies stand to make from that? They sold you the lie that the protection the jabs offer wears off after a few months. Wow, that's so convenient. Because it justifies more injections, that's why. Can you not see that you were sold snake oil here? This is an obvious trick to get you to agree to roll up your sleeve over and over again. As I say, it's a subscription model. And in order to mandate this, governments also stand to gain by obtaining never-before-seen levels of control over people's lives. Can you not see the scam at work here? The fact that you're still wearing a mask, for no good reason, and going along with all of the hand sanitizing, social distancing nonsense, despite being jabbed, what benefit has the jab given you? Oh, it gave you a few token privileges and the ability to go and sit in a restaurant. Wow, you could do that in 2019. And you could do it without having to wear a bloody mask on your face. You never got normal life back. Hospitality in this country is still under heavy restrictions. There's even curfews, for God's sake. Why? Does the virus get really angry after 12 o'clock? All of these restrictions are basically designed to slowly suffocate and destroy the hospitality industry. The hotels, pubs and restaurants, it's going to make them unworkable and unprofitable. This is meant to crush the middle class. Pub owners seem to be in total denial about this. They have to do all of this ridiculous table service nonsense. Bookings, COVID passes, mask wearing when walking to and from your seat. That makes sense. Some people in the movement have tried to help the publicans by encouraging them not to comply with this insanity. But they refused help. They took the government support money instead, which basically bought their silence. It bought their compliance. Now the same pub and restaurant industry that we tried to save is refusing to allow the unjabbed to enter because we won't agree to become part of the digital population control grid of vaccine passports and COVID certs. So quite honestly, I believe these businesses deserve to go under. I have no sympathy when the government pulls whatever remaining financial supports are still in place. They can't function anymore. Pubs need to be able to pack customers to the rafters on a Friday or Saturday night, for example. Anything less than that, and they're unable to stay open long term without state support, which, as I say, will soon be going away. There has been a total failure by the general public to accurately connect cause and effect when it comes to being sick and testing positive with COVID. The PCR and antigen tests are nonsense, as we know, and rife with false positives. So when a person is sick with a run-of-the-mill cold or flu, if they give themselves a COVID test and test positive, they wrongly conclude that the cold or flu symptoms that they're experiencing are as a result of having COVID. But this causal error should become glaringly obvious considering a person can test positive without having any symptoms at all. The greatest trick that was pulled, the most unbelievable part of this scam, was convincing healthy people that they could be carrying a highly infectious and deadly virus despite feeling perfectly fine. Well, isn't that convenient? Without that initial hypnotic instruction that was deeply embedded in the minds of the masses early on, the COVID hoax would have fizzled out in a matter of a few short weeks. Another excuse that's often thrown out there to justify regular mandated COVID jabs is the line, "But you take the flu jab every year, what's the difference?" Something like that. Firstly, no, I don't. I've never had the flu jab in my life, nor would I. I'm also increasingly convinced that most vaccines do more harm than good anyway, but putting all of that aside, the flu cannot be cured. Plenty of people I know who get the flu jab every year end up getting the flu anyway. And the flu jab was never mandatory and required just so a person could go to work, travel, or go to the shops or the pub. So it's a complete false equivalence. Finally, at least the flu jab is only once per year. It's not 3 or 4 or 5 times per year. As I said in my last video, people are being told that they're going to need 3 boosters for the Omicron variant alone, an alleged variant that has killed no one so far worldwide. Adding those 3 boosters to the 3 jabs people have already had would be 6 by sometime next year. And what about this from Reuters? EU drugs regulator says data supports vaccine boosters after 3 months. Even here in Ireland, Stephen Donnelly recently said the following on Twitter. "I have this evening accepted a recommendation from NIAC that the gap between completion of primary schedule of COVID-19 vaccination and a booster dose will be reduced to 3 months. Boosters will continue to be offered in the priority order previously recommended." Is this going to be the future? Jabs every 3 months for the rest of your life, 4 jabs per year, just to keep your COVID cert in the green, or else you'll fall back into being categorized as unvaccinated, and therefore you must go back under lockdown again? I mean, it's bad enough if it was 1 or 2 a year. And that's the other thing. How did most people not twig that the idea of healthy people being locked down last year was highly suspicious? I mean, especially when they knew no one who had died from COVID. Restricting people's movements to 2 or 5 kilometers from their homes had nothing to do with health. Just like denying people the right to work, go to church, attend funerals, visiting their dying relatives, or seeing their loved ones in their own homes, determining how many people could be in your home. None of this had anything to do with fighting a pandemic, and everything to do with control and with breaking the spirits and the will of the public so that they would just be driven to such desperation and emotional turmoil that they would do anything to avoid such torture again. To use a rather crude analogy, the lockdowns, which were designed to crush the populace into compliance, were like the psycho rapist who traps his victim in a room and tells them that he will let them go if they agree to have sex with him. He gaslights them by saying that if they don't want to have sex with him, then they obviously don't want to leave the room. Though lockdown was far more subtle and insidious than that, obviously, in effect, the same basic premise applies. Create a problem that generates huge trauma and suffering, like isolation, for example, and then offer people a way out as the solution. This solution also happens to be mass vaccination, which the globalists have planned all along. They just needed to manufacture the right kind of crisis that produced mass panic, terror, and a public hungry for whatever solution was served to them. And if you need any further example of just how far we've gone in the past 20 months, cast your mind back to articles like this from Vice Motherboard. Anti-vaxxers are terrified the government will enforce a vaccine for coronavirus. Anti-vax groups on social media are claiming that the spread of the disease will lead to mandatory vaccinations and unlimited surveillance. This was from the 28th of February 2020, less than 2 weeks before the pandemic was officially declared. Then, on July 27th, 2020, Full Fact produced the following. There is no indication that a COVID-19 vaccine will be mandatory, or that those who don't get it will have their movements restricted. We've come a long way, have we not? I guess those anti-vaxxers turned out to be right all along. They sure are good at predicting the future, aren't they? And the reason they are good at predicting the future is because they know where the tyrants want to take us. So predicting each step along the way becomes pretty easy. Thanks very much for watching. If you'd like to support my work, you can do so via the links below. And I'll see you next time.
Who's that from? Do you remember, Mr. Anderson?
Sorry. Sorry, I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
I'll have to give credit to that. Maybe it's on the stream somewhere. You can pick that up. Biker Bill made a very interesting comment. Very interesting comment. He said, mark my words, soon they will tell people you must get this shot or the stuff we put in you before will kill you. Just watch and see. Never thought about that, Bill. Interesting. We're hoping to have our guest on. Don't have him yet. I'm going to finish the video. Kind of explains where Tom is coming from. I'm going to finish his to whom it may concern, and hopefully we'll have Brett on the phone by that time. This is B.J. Edwards along with Mr. Anderson. Your last call. Stay tuned.
Faith, discussion, and so much more. Last Call with B.J. Edwards.
That's right, Bill. The Bible doesn't call us chickens. I'm sorry, sheep by accident. Dumbest animal on the planet. Just amazing. I don't know where Brett is. He stopped to get some gas and was going to get back with us. So hopefully we can connect up with Brett here shortly. I don't know whether I have any kind of a message from him, and I don't believe so. Anyway,
He's a busy guy.
yeah, he is. He's
a busy
hopefully
guy.
he'll be able to connect up with us. Tom, we read a letter to whom may concern from Tom Renz, a lawyer who's really attacking this COVID invasion into our lives. And he says the fact is that we now are moving ahead as quickly as possible with these COVID shots. We're even authorizing them in children, despite the fact that those under 30 are at basically zero statistical risk of death. Hey, Brett, hang in there with us. Further, we are doing this with no transparency. The situation is untenable, and we demand it be remedied. We, the people of this nation and world, will no longer comply with mandates that fail to consider our inalienable rights. In the spirit of Martin Luther King, Gandhi, Jesus Christ, we will spread our message through peace, and we will resist peacefully. Make no mistake, we will resist. The accompanying presentation, et cetera, et cetera. I want to thank Tom Renz for his addition to that. I don't know whether Brett's going to come on with it. I'm going to try to bring him on. We've got Brett Bowl here. Brett, can you hear us okay?
I can hear you great.
Good. There, we got a picture of you. Good looking man. Wait, you in Florida these days?
We are in Florida. See the palm trees there. Ohio Brett is on a secret mission for God. I'll be in Florida for a few weeks.
Good. So what is going on Ohio in January? I had mentioned earlier that I was at a conference call, and there was rumor that the folks that have been let out on January 6th that have been in solitary confinement since almost January 6th, but that isn't true. And January 6th has kind of been, well, I'm going to use the term bastardized in terms of what its original intent was. So what are you doing? What's going on? What group are you working with? And what can we expect on January 6th of 2022?
Well, first of all, Mr. Harrison, I want to celebrate everything you're doing for the family, our nuclear family around the world. I want to encourage your international audience to go out to your website and make sure you do what Ohio Brett did and join your pledge. So I want to salute you. You've been a great influence in my life, and I want to say thank you.
You're quite welcome. Thank you.
Well, and for your audience, they can learn a little bit more about Ohio Brett. You can always go to ohiobrett.com, ohiobrett.com. One of the things I do for many years, as you know, God let it on my heart to go to all 88 counties in Ohio to connect others to help and truth. So I'm on that journey. And on that journey, God brings some people in your path. And I had a chance with a couple partners to start thechristianrevolution.net, christianrevolution.net. And Coach Dave and I are leading the way. Coach Dave Dobbenmeyer and Ohio Brett on January 6th, we've announced to the world that we're going to host Celebrate Freedom Day on January the 6th. And it's not just going to be in Ohio's 88 counties. Mr. Harrison, coast to coast, border to border, volunteer leaders are signing up to host an event on January 6th at noon in their town. And it's an exciting project that God has allowed to happen. And we're going to stand up and unite those in the middle, we the people. Both center left and center right are coming together like never before. And we're going to lay down our political differences on that day for God, family, country, and sports. And we're going to show up together. And let me tell you what that's going to look like. That a lot of us know, and we've done honking waves, or we've done flag waves, where we've gone out and we basically stand on a street corner. We wave our American flags, our appeal to heaven flags, our sports flags. We're uniting, Mr. Harrison. This is going to be a beautiful thing. And we have to ask that question, what really happened to our morals in America?
Yeah. What did happen to them, Brett? Where are they? I've looked everywhere and I can't find them. It's like trying to find Kilroy. I can't find them. Where are they? Where did they go to?
Well, I want to encourage you and your audience that you are a true leader worth following. And you set the example for Ohio Brett and countless others to follow, with a focus on the family, that mom, that dad, that children, that serve the Lord, our Heavenly Father and His Son, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. There's no better way to be in that one man, one woman family relationship. And many of us have been blessed to have earthly world families, but we're not trying to spend eternity in Ohio or Florida or Wisconsin or Hawaii. All of us. And that's why your encouragement and leadership is so powerful, because many of us who do believe by faith alone, we're trying to spend eternity in the presence of God. And what that looks like, I don't know, but I want to spend eternity in the presence of God. And there's only one way, by faith alone in what Jesus Christ did on the cross for us. And 3 days later, resurrected so He could fulfill that prophecy. So as Ohio Brett travels the country and all 88 counties in Ohio, and then now I've been asked to connect others to Help and Truth wherever I get invited to go. And since September 2nd, I've been in 15 states on this journey to let people know a little bit about what God has put together with the christianrevolution.net. And so I'm being obedient to that call. And so I took this to Coach Dave and said, Coach, we got to do something on January 6th. Should we go back to Washington, D.C.? And it was like, no. Why should we give evil a home game? We saw what they did last year. We know what really happened in Washington, D.C. on January 6th. We really know what happened. And elected officials on the right and the left are going to be held accountable for what they did and how they had the police stand down and how they infiltrated good people, and good people made bad decisions. And for those who did make those bad decisions, Ohio Brett does believe they deserve their day in court, but they shouldn't be held as captive and slave. How many are still there? So we're going to ask that question. What really happened in Washington, D.C. on January 6th, and what can we do about it? We're going to ask the question, what really happened to our elected officials? We're going to ask that question, what really happened to our families in America? What happened to our schools? And on January 6th, if I can paint a picture of what it's going to look like in small towns in every single state, all 50 states, let me tell you a little vision of what that's going to look like. You're going to have 5 high school buddies that get together with a flag and they go out in front of their courthouse. You're going to see some mama bears go to the school parking lot. You're going to see fans, college students at college campuses are going to meet in the parking lot of their football stadium. You're going to see patriotic, God-fearing Americans on overpasses, but the framework is really simple. We know, because I'm getting volunteer local leaders that go to the christianrevolution.net, they click on that red button to learn more about Celebrate Freedom Day, and there's a box at the bottom that they can email me that they want to host an event in their town, whether it's Ponte Vedra.
I think we lost a little volume. There you go.
Yep, or Tampa, Florida, or Dublin, Ohio, or Madison, Wisconsin. They're signing up, Mr. Harrison. By faith, we're going to have events in all 50 states. It's going to be glorious.
For those of you folks who are a little confused here, when I'm not sitting in BJ Edwards' chair here, I also house the Natural Family Foundation, James R. Harrison, JR, as I'm known as. And Brett is very kind to talk about what we're doing and why we're having trouble bringing Brett back in. With what we're doing here. I'll tell you what, let's take a break, Mr. Anderson. We come back, I'll explain a little bit about the Natural Family Foundation, and maybe we can bring Brett back at that time. I'm really excited about what's happening January 6th. This is really good stuff. Brett, we're going to take a break here, so hang in there with us. We'll be right back with you.
Thank you.
Last Call with BJ Edwards. Real talk about real life.
I am so sick and tired of the lying that's going on. The anti-truth messages that we're getting out here. That there's truth and there's non-truth, and then there's anti-truth. And we're in an era of anti-truth. Anything that is the truth gets rejected, automatically gets rejected. And I'm calling this January 6th movement a reset. We're going to give folks glasses to see what real America looks like, what the founders intended it to be. And I believe what those gentlemen and ladies and gentlemen that went to Washington, D.C., what they were all about. Am I correct, Brett?
Oh, of course. It was the most beautiful day where we, the people, came together. Rich, poor, black, white, yellow, brown.
You were there?
We were all there. I was there. It was amazing. It was an amazing day to witness it with my own eyes. But real quickly, back to the Celebrate Freedom Day. This isn't a Trump rally. We're asking people to lay down their politics. No Trump flags, no FJB flags, no Let's Go Brandon flags. Let's unite. Let's actually show up together for God, family, country, and sports. And let's show the world. The world is actually showing America what's going on. They are street protesting in France and Germany and England and Australia. They're leading us. I thought we were supposed to be the leaders. Well, we don't. Like Lynn Wood said last night, I was on a private call with Lynn Wood last night, and some big doors are opening for Ohio Brett. And I say, thank you, Lord, for opening those doors and those connections. Well, Lynn Wood is very special in what he's doing. He apologizes for the mistakes he's made in the past, but he is on the front lines trying to get truth out there for God and country. And I really appreciate the hard work that he's doing. And I don't know him personally, but I'm being exposed to these individuals that God is allowing to share truth. And just like it says in the good book, we will all be persecuted for our following Jesus Christ. It's not if, it's when. And so we're going to be on the front lines January 6th. People are signing up on the website to be local leaders, and it's so simple to be a local leader. Pick a location in your town. You don't have to go to Washington, D.C. It could be your church. And we give an outline, Mr. Harrison. Some local leader can open in prayer and close in prayer. Some local leader can lead the Pledge of Allegiance. Some local leader can read 3 paragraphs that Coach Dave and Ohio Brett write that we want those read at every single parking lot across America, all 50 states. And then some local leader can share and speak on why I am proud of America. And then another speaker can talk about why family matters to me. I think that's very important. And I believe all over America, there's some local person that can get up and talk about why I'm proud of America. And another guy or girl can talk about why family matters to me. That's good programming in your local area. And it's going to happen in a parking lot. And then after that light speaking program, people can choose to, if they want, do a one-time Jericho march around the church, around a hospital, around a high school football field, a college football field. And then they can go stand on a street corner. Remember, we're starting at noon. So basically a half hour of speaking and then the Jericho March. And they could go stand on a street corner on a safe sidewalk where you're allowed to assemble, peacefully assemble, and wave your flags for a half hour and wave at the traffic with your American flag, your Appeal to Heaven flag, or your favorite sports flag. Whether it's the Cleveland Browns or the Cincinnati Bengals or the Ohio State Buckeyes and that ugly looking helmet team out of Ann Arbor, let's stand together for God, family, country, and sports. So does that paint a picture for you of what could happen in small towns across America?
What can I do? I'm the average Joe that, I think this is a good idea. What's my next step? What do I do?
You go to thechristianrevolution.net. You can read our open letter to the world. And if you like what we're doing for good or evil, we want you to come out on January 6th, whether you're by yourself or you get a buddy or you get 20 people or 500 people. It all starts with yourself, and ask one friend. So you can go out in Conneaut, Ohio, Chillicothe, Marietta, anywhere in America and stand up on that day. It doesn't have to be a big crowd. And as long as you can read, I'm going to email you the sample suggested outline for the day.
There you
go. It couldn't be any more simpler than that.
TheChristianRevolution.net. That's where they need to go.
TheChristianRevolution.net. And your international audience can click on the red button that says learn more about Celebrate Freedom Day. It explains it all right there. It doesn't cost you one dime. It will cost you your time. You're going to have to get up and go at some point in time. You're going to have to get up and go stand up for Jesus at some point in time. At some point in time, you're going to have to get up and stand up for your family's rights. And your international audience already knows you're a true leader worth following, Mr. Harrison. You're a true leader worth following. And I appreciate you. I enjoy your mentorship of me. Your audience doesn't know how much time that on the many phone calls and in person that you've given me good advice. And I've actually listened. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. This is supposed to be about you, not me. I appreciate it.
Well, it's a team. I'm just one person on the team. You might be the quarterback. I might be the defensive back. We're actually never on the field at the same time. Because if you play offense or you play defense or you just play special teams, you might not even be ever on the field with the quarterback. And you might not ever be on the field when I'm the strong safety and a coach calls a blitz and I have the opportunity to go sack their quarterback. But we're a big team. And I have a sports background. Sports isn't for everybody, but sports is a big fabric in our communities in America. So that's what God gave me access to through my heroes, my mom and dad, that I get a chance to be with them at least once a month. I'm here right now at their beautiful house in St. Augustine, Florida. So family matters to me. I know family matters to you. And I believe by faith that we'll have over 1 million people go to your website and sign your pledge, just like Ohio Brett did.
naturalfamilystrong.com, by the way, is that website, naturalfamilystrong.com. Brett, we're going to show there's just so much confusion, so much interference. And on January 6th, we're going to kind of clear the field, and we're going to show Americans what Americans look like. We're going to show the unity. We're going to show the love. All we're hearing right now is hate, envy. And that's not what America is about. America is about truth, justice, and we're going to show you on January 6th the American way, what we look like, the positives, instead of accentuating the negatives. And that's really so important. And to me, it's a redo. It's a reset of what we're really, really are. And it's about time America showed its true self.
Couldn't agree more. And that's what the family's all about. One mom, one dad, and the children. Blessed by the Lord, one man, one woman, and their children. And this is a great opportunity there for families in towns and counties all over America, all 50 states. Thank you for sharing the ChristianRevolution.net on the screen. Please come out and join us. Pray over us. Pray for a hedge of protection. Evil does not like what we're doing, uniting we the people in the middle, both center left and center right. Yes, we have differences, but if you are for God, family, country, sports, and freedom, we have way more in common than our differences. And we're going to model what true love of neighbor looks like on January 6th.
Looking forward to it, Brett. Thank you very much for taking the time. Your best to your mother and father. By the way, if they haven't signed the pledge, have them sign the pledge today.
You got it. God bless you, Mr. Harrison. I'll let you go. I'll see you soon.
All right, brother. Thank you very, very much. Brett's a trip, just a trip. But the positives, we really need to know. We've talked about a lot of things that are going on in America, and there's a lot of negative things that are happening and can be happening. But our enemy is dealing with hate. That is their unity. Hate. And we have to show them that love is more important. Family is more important than the hate. That we need to get back to the basics, and that is righteousness. And that's found in the Bible, but it's also found in nature. Nature confirms the Bible. It's impossible not to note the truth. It's right there in front of you. And I love the idea of the redo, of the reset on January 6th. What the news media has done with this, what politicians have done with this is shameful, folks. It really is shameful. But we can wipe it off in one day. And look, it doesn't have to be 100 people. It doesn't have to be 1,000 people. It could be just you and your family or your neighbors. 2, 3, 4, 5. It doesn't make any difference. You're out there exposing the truth, the love, and the hope of America and of Jesus Christ, if you will. It's just absolutely incredible where we've come from and where we're headed. And look, January 6th, reset. Scratch everything out. We're going to start this all over again. Whatever that means to you, but you got to get engaged in the game, folks. And on January 6th, you're going to meet other people, huh? Somebody's going to walk by and say, "What are you doing?" Let me tell you. And then share with them what America is really about. And wouldn't you want to be part of that? Of course they would. And we have to do that. We're going to take a break. When we come back, I'm going to get a little bit, I'm not too awfully sure where I'm going to go. I could go to there. I could go to the let's see. I may play a video when we come back, just for the heck of it. B.J. Edwards along with Mr. Anderson. This is your last call. Thanks, Brett.
Keeping you informed. This is Last Call with B.J. Edwards.
Oh, we got a caller. I believe we have a caller on the line. Looks like
you do, Mr. Harrison.
Oh, Jeff, how you doing, brother?
Good. How you doing?
Keeping busy. I'm excited about January 6th. I'm excited about what you're doing
Yes.
too. Maybe you can update us in terms of what you're doing. And are you talking about January 6th or what's on your mind, my friend?
Talking about January 6th and our school board meetings. I think we've done 14 school board meetings in 90 days.
Oh,
now do the math. You usually only have
God.
one a month. Huh? We've done 12 or 14 in 90 days.
Wow. Yeoman work.
We're reading scripture. We're going in and we're just telling them how they are just serving the demonic federal beast. They're horrible. And reading scripture to them and rebuking them. I even read Ezekiel that the blood, we're the watchmen on the wall. The blood is not going to be on our hands because we have come to warn them. And I want to do the scripture. The last two school board meetings of East Knox last Thursday and Mount Vernon Monday. The results are, here's the results they're all saying now. They're all saying this. Well, Mr. Klein, you don't understand. We got good people in here and we got good things going on. The guy one school board got all down there at East Knox telling me this. I'm standing with a ex-high school varsity baseball player of mine that is now the principal. He's always been a good Christian kid. Always like. He's standing with me, and this school board member's telling me this. I looked at him and I said, now, you done? He looked at me real weird. I said, now I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to say something that you aren't going to understand. He got all done with the good people, good schools. I said, now listen to me closely.
Stop it, Jeff. Stop it.
Good people go to hell.
Ooh.
He looked at me real weird. I said, didn't I tell you? You wouldn't understand that. And I'm like, that's what we're getting now. They all want to just sit back and ignore us and say, well, we're good people in here. We got a lot of good going on. So the people are kind of up in arms here. I don't know. We got a website here. I think it's called Protecting the Children or something here in Knox County. And they actually, Tom Brinstow and I were eating the other day. Tom says, oh, look, there's something on the internet about you in this group here. I'm like, oh, no, what is it? And it's usually negative when they say there's something on the internet about you. He said, they started reading. He said, and a special thanks to Mr. Klein. He keeps bringing his bunch of guys and coming to the meetings and speaking about the books and critical race theory. And they were thanking us. I'm like, there you go. Good. At least somebody appreciates it. So I'm going to hit this group of people and try and get them gathered for the January 6th thing and just bring them all. I mean, because a lot of them are secular. They're not Christian. So that's what we're planning.
Well, that's good. That's very good, Jeff. You're very much appreciated. What you're doing. I mean, wow, yeoman's work. How many are you covering, and what time period was that?
It was 12 and 14 school board meetings in I think 90 days. I'll have to sit and look when we started what month. It was either 90 days or 120 days. But Fredericktown, Mount Vernon, Danville, and East Knox, all 4 schools in the Knox County area.
And I have to tell you, I attended school board meetings for 10. I'm talking to the audience now. I went to school board meetings for 10 years, and it is the most incredible experience. Just going to one and then going back to another one is incredible. It really is. And I went to almost every school board meeting for 10 years. God had me there. There's nothing else that would have drove me into that, because it's insane.
They give you 3 minutes to speak.
Yes.
They answer no questions.
Yep.
And it goes in one ear, not the other, and you leave. And you're like, okay, I can come back in a month. They do nothing.
Yep.
And the sad thing is, JR, is most of them sit in a church somewhere. Every one of our school boards here in Knox County, I asked them one. I asked a couple times at different meetings. I said, listen, I'll bet most of you believe in God. And they kind of nod their head yes, a little bit. They don't want to show too much reaction. I said, I'll bet most of you claim to be Christian. And you probably sit in a local church. So my question to you is, what are we doing? And they just look at you. But, I have had a couple good responses. The little Catholic lady at East Knox told the president, Pastor Matt Schwartz is president on that board down there. She told him one night afterwards, she said, man, I like it. It's about time somebody comes in here and reads scripture in these meetings. Then last month's meeting on Thursday, they went into executive session. Oh yeah, they're voting to bring in the policy, what's that called? The behavior policy, where they send out the questionnaires to kids.
Yes.
Are you bisexual? Are you transgender?
Yes.
All these questionnaires. So Mount Vernon already did it. They launched it to all the kids. East Knox was debating on it, so that we're going to go into private executive session and discuss this. Well, when they went in there, that was the night I read Ezekiel, where the watchman on the wall. And I told the guy that good people are going to hell, and he started off into his executive session. Found out after the meeting that Catholic lady, it was her last night. She retired. She's 40-year school teacher, 10 or 20 years on school, but she'd been there forever. But that was her last night. She addressed the board in her executive session and said, listen, let me tell you people something. I appreciate that preacher man coming into these school board meetings. I told Pastor Matt, I said, you tell her I'm not a preacher. But that's what she told him. She just, last night out, she said, she told him, give him a statement. She appreciates the preacher man in the board meetings. That was good.
And just for clarification, Jeff, in Ezekiel, the verses you're talking about, that basically keeps you, the Bible says to know to do good, not to do it. To him, that's a sin. if you know that somebody is damaging somebody else and you don't speak up to it, or at least try to speak up to it as best you can,
Right.
then you are held accountable for that. You're accountable for the actions. I don't want to sound like Zen and all that, but you are. You're accountable for those actions because you know to do good and you don't do it. You not only hurt yourself, but you hurt them.
Exactly. Yep, that's what I read to him. And boy, when I've seen the looks on some of the school book number spaces was like reading it. And I'm staring dead into the face of a few of them. I mean, I'm just staring them down. It was good.
Well, we're worshiping lies, Jeff, and living in those lies. And it takes a loud drum, if you will, to wake people up. You got to almost scream in their ears. And
Here it is. I'll read it to you real quick.
Go ahead.
Ezekiel 3, verse 17. Son of man, I have made thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore, hear the word at my mouth and give them warning from me. When I say unto the wicked, thou shalt surely die, and thou givest him not warning, nor speakest to warn the wicked from his wicked way, to save his life, the same wicked man shall die in his iniquity, but his blood I will require at thine hand. Yet, if thou warn the wicked, and he turn not from his wickedness, nor from his wicked way, he shall die in his iniquity, but thou hast delivered thy soul. And I slammed that Bible shut and walked up. It's like, oh, you ought to see a couple of them giving me the evil eye. It was good.
And they're probably doing things to, by the way, this is Knox County, Ohio. They're probably doing things to, well, I mean, they've got your speech limited to 3 minutes for starters. But now they're going to start changing some things, or maybe they've already changed things to keep you from being effective.
Oh, Fredericktown. I just found out I went there Tuesday night. I couldn't even speak at that one. They're like, sorry, you didn't sign up 24 hours before the meeting. I'm like, what? I said, the other 3 schools let me speak. I just sign up when you come in. Why are you doing this? Well, we changed this when COVID hit. I'm like, what's that got to do with COVID? So at the end, it was crazy. They had 2 speakers, 3 minutes piece, 6 minutes total. They allot 30 minutes. So I asked the one woman before the meeting started. She was kind of working for the school. She wasn't on the board. And I told her who I was. Went to school there all my life, up to high school. I said, I would love to speak tonight. And as an ex-Freddie from Fredericktown, Ohio, she said, well, that's probably a good idea. She said, ask them and see what they say. I said, I will. When the 2 speakers get done, I'm going to raise my hand and ask for permission. And buddy, as soon as I did, they seen me and Tom Branstall standing back there with our Bibles tucked under our arms. They knew who we were.
So you were
carrying.
They got
done.
You were carrying, right?
Yeah, open carry. Wasn't concealed. We didn't hide it. It was open carry. And I don't have a permit to open carry that Bible either. So I raised my hand and I said, Mr. McClay. And they all looked at me, and one person on the board said, I motion we adjourn. And the other one said, I second it. Boom, adjourn, meeting adjourned. Quickly. I'm like, whoa. I said, I want to speak. I just want 3 minutes. But they were all gathering their crap up and leaving. And it was just, they wouldn't let me speak. I told him, I said, I told the principal, I said, I will be up here and sign that sheet for the next meeting. I will get and you watch, they'll probably change it now. Well, you're not in our district. You're in the Mount Vernon School District. There'll be changes coming.
If you run across that problem again, one thing that you can do, one thing I learned from one of our conference calls, by the way, what verse was that in Ezekiel again? One of our listeners was asking.
Ezekiel 3:17.
3:17. Okay.
Yep.
There's Robert's Rules of Order is what all school board meetings, most public meetings conduct themselves in. When something like that happens, you need to say point of order. And if they disregard that, then you have leverage. You just say point of order, because you are a member of that meeting. You disagree with what's going on, and then you need somebody to second that, and maybe somebody to third it.
Okay.
And I think you're going to be okay at that point. Larry, our good friend Larry from South Carolina, can educate you in terms of what you would need to do next time.
Okay, yeah, because I want to know, because I'm going to do something if they stop me.
Yep. And point of
now,
order.
Coach, he told me today, he said, file a lawsuit on them. I don't know if that's going to have any weight or not. You know what I mean?
Well, you can wait. You can wait till that paint dries, or you can try something else while the paint's drying. And again, I'm recommending the point of order. Look, Jeff, I love your work. I love what you're doing. I love the way you just lead with that cross. It's just incredible. It's incredible. And
let everybody know we'll be on the square in Mount Vernon January 6th. So our local people in Knox County, you got any listed? We'll be on the public square, and then come see me at JC's Auto if there's any more information. So
JC Auto in
Mount Vernon.
Mount Vernon. All right, Jeff. Appreciate you.
All right,
you
brother.
in.
Thanks. See ya.
Alrighty. I want to give some good news when we close the showdown today. A judge, and this is incredible, in Virginia, a judge is holding a hospital in contempt for not giving ivermectin to a dying woman. And if they didn't give it to him, he was levying a $10,000 a day fine. A $10,000 a day fine on behalf of a COVID-19 patient who was denied being prescribed ivermectin. And the patient, by the way, this is from Tyler Burden of Zero Hedge. Christopher Davies, the son of the patient, Kathleen Davies, told the Fauquier Times, Fauquier, the 2 doses of ivermectin generally used to treat parasites were given to the woman at 8:45 p.m. on Monday of this week. I don't have follow-up on this. They waited an awful long time, but hopefully we can do something about it. Judge James P. Fisher, 20th Judicial Court of Virginia, signed the order telling the hospital that they're in contempt of court and needlessly interposing requirements to stand in the way of the patient's desired physician administering investigation. You know, if you're on a dying bed, is there something I can do for you? Huh? Is there something I can do for you? Is there something I can get for you? You ever heard that? Yes. Give me ivermectin. What do you think, folks? The family requested the hospital give Davies, who had been on a ventilator since November 3rd, ivermectin to treat her COVID-19 as a last resort to save her life. Give me ivermectin. The Davies family doctor had prescribed the ivermectin, good for him, to the woman, but the hospital resisted administering the drug and cited medical, legal, and other concerns. They took legal action on December 6th, did the family, and the judge again ruled in their favor. That's good news, folks. But here's the deal. If we don't show up, we don't win. When we show up, we win. Now, if you show up and think you can't win, then yeah, you're going to show up and you're going to accomplish what you don't think you can do. And that's what you accomplish what you think you can do, which is nothing. You know, the doctors at the hospital are afraid. This has become so politically charged. Think about the Medicare thing. And the family just wanted them to give this patient hope. What is wrong with that? What is wrong with us? January 6th, 2022, 12 o'clock, high noon, at your local church, at your local church, at your local city council, school board, athletic field, on the highways and the byways. What really happened on January of 2021? What really happened? Hey, this is BJ Edwards along with Mr. Anderson. This has been your last call. Thanks for listening today, folks, and thanks for participating.
I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. I can see all.
Stopped it. Well, it's still going. It says